there is this insight. Maybe it's connected sometimes by many authors with this tendency, with this lack of understood in Western way spirituality, because the church was always under the control of the material power of the princes, of the tsars, and so on. And so it's nothing really shocking for the Russians that, for instance, the Patriarch of Moscow was a KGB agent. Nothing really shocking, because it's normal. It's the political power is always dominated, has always dominated the spiritual power. So the Russians are maybe not more rational than Westerners, but they have this tendency of cutting off the crap of spirituality and seeing things like they really are. Russians are sometimes deluded, of course, and self-deluding, but also they have this very good insight sometimes about the Westerners, about the nature of the Western cultures, for instance, and so on. So it's not a coincidence they have really good literature, and this literature, contrary, for instance, to Scandinavian literature, has very little to do with myths and storytelling. It's everything to do with how society really works and how human brain really operates. And it's not idealistic, it's very realistic. Okay, there was an interesting observation that the Russians had a very good rock music, because maybe because they were cut off from the influence of the Western music, so they had to be creative. I don't know. Interesting thought. That they are very patriotic. The Russians are patriotic. Sometimes it's ridiculed that there's the only thing left for them, but it's not that bad. Russia is relatively, it's only twice poorer on per capita than Poland, for instance. So it's not like a third world country. Poor. It's just poor, a little bit poor, poorish country. Okay. Ballet as a positive thing, and yeah, why not? Although I have heard from Russian ballet dancers that the competitiveness and the in the Russian ballet is so really frustrating and inhuman that they prefer to be ballet dancers in the Ukraine, Belarus, Poland, and so on than in Russia. I don't know. Just reporting. Relata refero, as the Romans used to say. Okay, patriotic, I said, the Russians have also a very good tradition with their flag, for instance. I mean the actual, the current flag, which is actually the same colors used by Peter the Great. And Peter the Great, who has was traveling incognito to the Netherlands in the last part of the 17th century, and was trying to establish what's the root of Holland's economic and industrial success. And he was working incognito in those factories and so on and so on. So he adopted this, the flags of the Republic of the Netherlands to the Russian flag. So it's really one of the oldest flags in Europe, which is, and consequently in all the world. So yes, patriotic, and this patriotism has a very deep roots. And also we can observe that Peter the Great was really great because he was a trendsetter, a really working monarch who was very practically thinking, and so on. In less ruthless manner, this was the trend adopted by many other enlightened, more enlightened maybe kings and so on, and less ruthless, but the idea that the monarch should be working and should be serving like a normal engineer, like a normal official, it was originally taken from Peter the Great. So the Russians, who were so much well, by no means progressive nation in the 17th century became trendsetters, which is very interesting. The Russians can be very easily underestimated and shouldn't be. Okay.